It's been over 2 years since Hogwarts Legacy first came out, and I pre-ordered this game months in advance on PlayStation 5. And I have to say, initially the game lived up to the hype, but there's a reason why I stopped playing it, and I finally got around to finishing it just a couple months ago. So I'm just wanting to break down my thoughts of the game and what exactly I think is the future for Hogwarts Legacy, and if you should play it if you haven't. So the first thing I will say is that part of the big hype of this game was the fact that it was a full-scale Hogwarts open world game where you would take place as a student in Hogwarts with all the bells and whistles of Hogwarts and students, the four houses, magic, all that stuff. And I have to say, the first 2 hours of the game, it lives up to the hype because all those things that you would imagine are there. The castle, sorting hat, being a student in Hogwarts school, and those parts of the game were really impressive. The problem with the game was the story itself. So you come in into Hogwarts as a fourth year or fifth year, I don't quite remember, but you're definitely not a first year, and you're kind of like the chosen one. So you're just a special student with magical powers. And actually, the first 30 minutes of the game, you don't actually even start in Hogwarts. You start somewhere else, so you kind of end up at Hogwarts, and you're just a special student. I like how the game allowed you to customize your character, and you can choose between, being a boy or a girl, and choose how you look. I think that's so much better than when these type of games force you to be a character that you just don't want to be or don't see yourself as. So that's a huge plus, and the graphics definitely hold up. I mean, the graphics were probably one of the biggest draws to this game when it first came out, and I have to say, on the original consoles like the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox, if you wanted to run this game on the highest quality settings, you only get 30 FPS. But I replayed this on PlayStation 5 Pro. Well, not replay, I finished it on PlayStation 5 Pro, and it was much, much better once you get to that, if you ever have that higher end console, because you get the 60 FPS and there are more performance modes. But I can probably say on the console, it was weird because this game isn't really like an action game where you're involved in action all the time. So when you're walking around the castle, you kind of want to have the highest graphical mode just to experience the ray tracing and how nice everything looks. But then when you get into combat, it feels really, really bad when you're in high fidelity mode. So there was no way to really switch it or balance it with the lower end consoles. So once I got the PlayStation 5 Pro, it was much, much better. Of course, if you're on the PC, it's probably a great experience, although I know PC has a lot of bugs. So that takes away the graphics part of it. But let's go back to story and world. So the story, as I said, you're a student, a special student, fourth year with the chosen one, and you have to basically uncover this story about ancient magic and the history of Hogwarts. And this takes place well before the whole Harry Potter story happens. And the thing that makes not only me, but is frustrating is that this wasn't really a Hogwarts student experience. I would say the student experience is the first 2 hours of the game. It's 25% of what ends up being the main story. So that part was a little frustrating because after the first 2 hours, you really start to spend a lot of time outside of Hogwarts. As you can see, you're just kind of flying around the world. And that, to me, the story was okay. But it wasn't really that intriguing, to be honest. I would have preferred more time in Hogwarts and more time just doing more student-led stuff. So, one of the most popular and talked about quest lines, because there are 2 or 3 main quest lines that you go through, is the Sebastian Shallow quest line, where he's a Slytherin guy, and you basically go through your classic Slytherin quest line of dark magic and all the type of stuff. And it's very, very full of lore, and it just relates to Hogwarts really well, and that's why people like that questline a lot. The main story questline, honestly, it's just kind of forgettable. It's annoying. You have to do these trials, which aren't even they're more annoying than they are fun, to be honest with you. So that part was disappointing, and you don't really spend too much time, I would say, in the classroom and just doing Hogwarts student stuff. The world is really good, I will say. They got everything down in the world. Honestly, the problem with the world is that it's a little too big. Like there's so many parts of the world to explore. Like you have Hogwarts, you have Hogsmeade, you have the Forbidden Forest, you have all these iconic Hogwarts places, and the story doesn't do a great job of really forcing you to explore everything. So like right now, as I've finished this game, I still feel like I haven't seen a lot of the map in the world. And you could say like, oh, why don't you just do the side quests? The side quest content is really disappointing in this game. It's just more of like errands that you run, and they're not really intriguing. Like the side quests are just kind of like one-off or two-off quest lines. They're not deep quest lines for the side quests at all. So that's really disappointing because honestly, if this game was just full of amazing side quests, like very long side quests, and the main story would be whatever. Like you would just do the main story, and then you could just fill your time doing side quests, exploring the world, because the world is humongous. Because not only do you have Hogwarts, Hogsmeade, Forbidden Forest, but then later on in the game, like in the end game part, you end up traveling to another region of the world, and it's huge, and there's really no initiative to explore it, because it's like, why would I waste my time here when it's just kind of like it feels kind of like Minecrafty, where it's just, I mean it's not, but it just feels very generated and there's nothing there. There's a random like town and city, which is interesting, but when you fly down there, you just don't really see it as there any reason to explore. So that the world is really nice, but I don't think the story and the quest lines really did it justice, because there are some really interesting parts of the map where it's like, I don't know why I would be here other than just looking around. And then the map is so big, and this is the confusing part, and I don't know, maybe I played the game wrong or something, but you fly everywhere on a broomstick to get to places, and that in a way feels like, I wouldn't say cheating, but it feels like it's kind of shortcutting the game. But then on the flip side, if I didn't do that and walked through everything, it would take hours to get to places. So I don't know, because like when you're in the broom, you can pretty much get from point A to point B in a matter of literally seconds. And you fly over a lot of landmarks on the map. But if I were to walk through that, it may take me 30 minutes or so to get from point A to point B, just fighting through a bunch of enemies all the time. And so that was also really confusing, because honestly, at the end of the game, I wouldn't say I was super underleveled, but I definitely did not feel very strong. And that's probably from the lack of side quests I did, but there's just no real initiative from me to do these side quests, because I did a couple and they just weren't very interesting to me at all. So that is the story and the world part. Now let's get to gameplay. And honestly, gameplay was really surprising to me. I think going into this game, and the last thing I expected was to have combat that was exciting. Like, that was probably at the bottom of my list. Like, when I thought about the Hogwarts Legacy game, I was like, it's all about the experience, the immersion, and, you know, obviously being a wizard and using spells as part of it, but I didn't expect the spells part to be the best part of the game. And honestly, the combat system in this game feels really snappy. It feels great, not killing, but fighting enemies. I guess killing at some point once you learn the killing spell. But the combat system is amazing in this game. It is really fun. It's fast paced. It's really, really quick, and it's really snappy, and you can do a lot of different things in very little amount of time. The only gripe I would have is just the access to spells you get, only 4 at a time. I wish there was a way that they could have gave you more spells at your traversal or disposal at a time. And yeah, so the combat system was actually really good. So that was like probably the best spot. I wish there would have been a couple more useful spells. A lot of the spells that they end up giving you, like you kind of just recycle them the whole time. And I would say that probably was a little bit disappointing with the spells. Like there are plenty of spells that you maybe just use like a handful of times throughout the game. Well, there are other spells that you just use all the time. So the combat was really good, and then let's talk about like the fighting. So like who you're fighting, and you know, as you can see, like one thing this game really lacked, in my opinion, and was boss fights. And I would say like the boss fights were just kind of eh. They were a nice touch, but there weren't enough boss fights. Like I remember this boss fight in particular, I actually struggled with because I wasn't very good at the game, but I actually had a lot of fun. And this was probably the best boss fight in the game. Like the final boss fight was just kind of annoying and not very intuitive, and then some other boss fights in the trials really like wasn't that exciting. Like it was just kind of more tedious than anything else. This boss fight was probably the best boss fight of the game against this guy. And that comes really late in the game. So it's just kind of disappointing how, the combat system was great, but a lot of times you're just fighting a bunch of crap enemies. And so it's just like you're just abusing them with your powers, and it's not really about the quality of fights or enemies you have. It's just they're just hoarding you. It's just the number of enemies. So it never like it's just not challenging, I would say. So yeah, I would say the combat is great. I wish they would have had a couple more interesting enemies. So that honestly is probably decent part of the game. And then the last part is just legacy and how the game is in general. So Hogwarts Legacy, the legacy of this game, ironically, is that it is the first open world Hogwarts game. And there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do in the game, room of requirement. There's, you can grow stuff, you can capture beasts. I just feel like the game itself is just, it's very empty after the first 2 hours. Like, the first 2 hours is an amazing experience. It's probably, the first 2 hours, I would say, best game ever. After the first 2 hours, you start to realize what the game is asking you to do. It starts to get very repetitive and a lot really disappointing. And honestly, the reason why I stopped playing the game halfway, well, not even halfway, like maybe like 2 or 4 hours done after, is because I just got really boring. Because you kind of just go into a dungeon and you just walk through it, cast a couple spells, and do a couple of puzzles that are not really fun puzzles. And that's pretty much it. And so for me, that was the biggest problem with the game. And I think it's a good start. I hope the next game they really focus on you being a student and not making it about some story about that is outside of Hogwarts. I want to be in Hogwarts more. I want to interact with students more. I want to interact with general Hogwarts things more. This game was more of like a Fantastic Beasts movie type of game where you're just in Hogwarts for a very small amount of time and it's not that important. Overall, I would say if you haven't played this game and you're a big Harry Potter fan, I would give it a try. If you're not a Harry Potter fan at all, there's absolutely no reason for you to play this game because it's like the combat system is by no means good as a standalone. It's just good given the perspective of being a Hogwarts game. But I will say the graphics do hold up. But it's a game I probably won't replay. I could see myself getting back into it and just doing some more side quests and just seeing how they are. But I cannot see myself full replaying the story again. Another thing that I didn't even mention is that the game is completely linear, as in there's no choices. There's no things that like you do that change the world or change the flow of the story, which is crazy because even at the end you're actually given choices throughout the game, and those choices rarely amount to anything. And that part is really frustrating because you are your own character. You would it's an open world game. You would think that would have some sort of effect on the story, but it doesn't. Like one of the biggest decisions in the game at the end, which is basically how do you want to wield ancient power? Do you want to like blow it up, destroy it, or do you want to wield it yourself? Whatever you choose doesn't even matter. And that is really disappointing. So hopefully in the next game, they focus more on just it being an open world game, more side quests, because I think Hogwarts, it's just full of side quests. It is the most side quest driven environment, in my opinion, just given the variety of what could happen at Hogwarts. So hopefully in the next game, they focus on those things.